Come, 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 come. Oh. Hi, baby. Oh. It's gone. Ah. At the end of November 2017, I penned the last words to my novel's draft, Hometown, completing the Nanowrimo challenge for that year. Although it was not the first time I've heard of the novel writing challenge, it was my first time committing to it, and I was filled with enormous pride to have been able to complete it, and with a couple of days to spare. The novel had been in my head for years and has had its share of false starts. Versions upon versions have piled up in the cluttered spaces of my mind before I finally began to take it more seriously and wrote it down, beginning to end. I would like to think that with or without NaNoWriMo, I would still have been able to accomplish a first draft of my novel, but if it were the latter, that would probably not have been November of 2017. As I settled down from the high of the accomplishment, I pursued other projects, thinking that my brain needed some time away from the draft before diving back in it and editing. After all, editing required the culling of so many of the writer's beloved scenes, the killing of your darlings, so to speak. So I figured I needed to have a fresh enough perspective before I pick up my metaphorical sickle and trim the garden I have planted. It's been a year, and November draws to a close, ending another NaNoWriMo challenge, and I have not yet finished a second draft of my novel. Besides making sure that I had enough time to make a mask every month, I have recently become the father of an axolotl, Theo. Both responsibilities taking massive amounts of brain power and physical energy to fulfill. Even then, I know these are just excuses. I feel guilty at times, especially when I remember last year when I would literally write while I was in the toilet, or while I was in a bumpy jeepney ride towards work, towards home. Then again, I was just writing a draft. Basically, anything counted. All the draft needed to do was exist, and I certainly did my best breathing life into it. Editing, as my amateur self has started to learn, is not as simple as when I was vomiting out words to meet a daily word count. Editing was sitting in my bedroom, turning on my computer, opening my draft, and watching YouTube. Editing was the difficult part, the part where you would rather do anything else but. The part my even more novice self pretended was not required. Of course it was required. J.K. Rowling worked on the first Harry Potter novel for 6 years. George R.R. Martin wrote the first book of A Song of Ice and Fire for 5 years. The Lord of the Rings trilogy took a total of 16 years from J.R.R. Tolkien's life. It scares and excites me to imagine myself, a neophyte writer in every sense, finally finishing my novel. When would that be? How many drafts would it take before I'm satisfied with it? What kind of person would I be at the end of the road? Would the final product resemble the original idea I've had in my head for years? Although I never put much of it into actual words, I have been editing my novel in my head since the month after I've finished its draft. It's not much of a process, I admit, but it helps me sift through unnecessary scenes or conversation threads before I quote-unquote waste time writing them down. Much like when I had false starts on the first draft, I've had many false starts on the second draft. But this month, inspired by the many challengers taking on Nanowrimo, I've started to take the editing more seriously. And I hope, no matter how long it takes, 5 years, 6 years, 16 years, I'll finally finish my novel. And that was November's Mask of the Month. This goes out especially to everyone who's undertaken, if you're quick enough, the Nanowrimo Challenge 2018. If you like this video, give it a like. If you're interested to see what the final month, December's mask will be, and possibly other artwork and book related videos, make sure to subscribe. And I'll be seeing you on the next video. Thank you so much.